Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Keeping It Positive. This one is episode number 7, another special episode, exceptional episode because we had another exceptional guest. They just keep on coming, and every episode is such a special experience. Great conversation, so much fun to do. This one was no exception with the one and only Holly Reilly. I've been able to know Holly for a very, very long time now, not just her, but her entire family. Her entire family is composed with amazing people. Her parents, her three brothers, are some of the best people you'll ever meet. And I've been so fortunate to know them and to have them in my life for a long period of time now. And I know they've had such a positive impact on me. And it's been truly, truly special. And I'm very, very grateful. It was so much fun having the opportunity to chat with Hall. Her personality is so contagious. Her laugh is absolutely amazing, and just being around her is so uplifting. She's just her mood. She's always happy. She's always positive. She always makes you feel good, and being around her is contagious in the best way possible. And her being a teacher, I think it's a perfect job for her. Having her as a teacher, as a role model for so many young kids, being able to be that example for kids, I think it gives the kids a good foundation to be good human beings as well. It's someone that they can look up to. They can look up to Hall, and I think she's able to teach them so many things. And throughout this interview, and what we discussed, and you can tell that the feeling is definitely mutual. That the kids teach her a lot too, and I thought that was such a unique, special thing to point out, and that I observed, and I think it's so special. Teachers are a backbone of a child's life, and I think in a positive way. And when I think about my educational experience, my time in elementary school or high school, a lot of teachers that have had a positive impact on me, that I take good qualities that I've learned uh, through them, and has allowed me to be who I am. And I think a person like Holly is the perfect person for to be a teacher, sculpting the young minds of youth, making the world a better place, and teaching them how to be a good human being. And it's more than just books and a test and all that stuff. It's about just being a good human being, and teaching quality and values, and all that amazing stuff. And Holly's a perfect example of that, and she strives to do that every single day. And um, we also talked about her journey as a teacher. It's not the same as everyone else, and it's a story about never giving up and persevering. And sometimes things might not work out the way it's supposed to work out, but just keep going and keep grinding. And if you have a passion, and if you want to achieve something in life, there's nothing that you can't do. And her story is a testament to that. How she never gave up, how she did what she wanted to do. She worked hard, and she followed her dreams. Now she can help young kids' dreams come true as well. And uh, this this podcast, it was super special for me to do. I know Hall mentioned a couple times that it's out of her comfort zone to do this kind of thing. So I'm very, very grateful, very fortunate that she agreed to do it. And I think she nailed it out of the park. She crushed it. And I think by listening to this, I hope all of you enjoy it. I know you will. And just as much as I did recording this and chatting with her. And I think she exemplifies what this project is all about, promoting good people, positive people, people who are making a really big difference. And she definitely does that. So without further ado, this is episode number 7 with the amazing Holly Reilly. I hope you guys enjoy. We're live. We're good to
Oh,
go. We're not
it's
really
like
live.
really
It's recording.
it's really official.
It is. Well, thank you, Holly, for being the guest of episode number 7. Um, when, like I previously mentioned, you think I'm a liar, but when I started this podcast, you were one of the first persons I wanted to have on here, and you're the first female, which is pretty cool.
I
Uh,
like that. I'm
yeah,
happy with that.
um, and I when I think of you, I always think of just pure happiness. You exude happiness and positivity, and this is what this podcast is all about: giving people a platform and sharing amazing stories and amazing people. So you are the perfect fit, and it's the biggest honor to have you on.
Oh, Wyatt, you're already gonna make me cry.
Oh, this is gonna be so much fun. I think people need to hear what you have to say and who you are as a person. I think you're such a great role model. Um, and like you being a teacher, I think it's the perfect fit because you're a role model for so many kids, and it's like you're shaping the future, right? Which is pretty amazing. And I think you're in the perfect spot. But I guess for
Aw.
people that don't know who you are, maybe introduce yourself and um, yeah.
Hi, my name is Holly Reilly, and I am a teacher. I teach, currently I have a kindergarten grade one class, but primarily I usually do teach just straight kindergarten. I'm in my 10th year of teaching, which is a
Wow.
scary thought that it's been 10 years since I graduated. But before that, I actually worked as an early childhood educator for about 10 years. So I have some overlap in between working as an ECE and finishing up teachers college. So I've been around the realms of education and early childhood education for a number of years since 2010. No, 2008 is when I started.
That's amazing. Well, I knew that because I know your brothers and I wanted to ask about that. When you started your career as an early on educator, like how do you think that helped you like be the teacher you are today?
Uh, I I think the becoming an early childhood educator first was probably the best decision I ever made. It really laid the foundation for my understanding of education within a school. Uh, I've had a I've had really great privileges of being able to work with some incredible educators, both teachers and ECEs alike. Um, and I think having the background of an childhood educator, um, it just sets you up for a different perspective when it comes to teaching within a school. I have a background on, the development of children from the time of infancy up through to school age. So in my experience, you approach education sort of in a different like a different light. Uh, yes, we have curriculum that we need to learn, and we have to focus on. We want to make sure these kiddos are ready for the future. But from an ECE standpoint, we look more about those really pivotal uh, uh, milestones and development. So I just feel like we recognize things a little bit differently in terms of speech and occupational concerns, things like that. We just approach our education a little bit differently. um, yeah, it just sets it up differently. They have a different mindset when you have the ECE background, because you do know all those ages and stages and all those developmental milestones from the time that they're infants. And so if they were a little bit delayed in those, then okay, well, then that explains certain things when they're 4 and 5. That doesn't just go away. It's kind
Mm.
of always one of those things that is kind of always there. So it paints it differently.
And that I think that's even though it's different, I think it's a very very good strength, right? Because you see a different perspective and you have a different outlook on things and maybe approach things differently too, right? Which is awesome. And when ECs work in your school, you know what they're going through, right? So like you can relate to them as well, which is pretty awesome.
And I've always said this, yeah, I have both designations, an ECE designation. I'm unregistered as an ECE because I do work as a teacher, so I'm a registered teacher. But um, if you're lucky enough to have a teaching partner in an ECE, they're your experts. So if you're a teacher and you don't have the ECE background, your ECEs are they are the experts on the developmental stages of kindergarten, and they're the most important part of that kindergarten classroom, in my personal opinion.
Mm. And so it makes it like a really good dynamic, right? Like a really good helper, and it helps like the day to day, like go that much smoother, that much better, right?
I truly thrive upon team teaching and co-teaching. And I've never had the same partner to teach with year after year, but I've been
Mhm.
extremely blessed with the teaching partners that I've had. Um, I've really, it's just, we've become each year somehow we just create an amazing team. Um, and I've had 5 different partners, and I think in the last 6 years, 5 or 6 different partners. It's hard to keep track, but each one brought something so different to the room. And I've been able to bring a lot of what they brought to the room into a classroom that um, I have currently, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like
Yeah.
it's like you have a new best friend every year.
And honestly, like, again, I really can consider every single person that I've had come into my classroom a best friend. Like all of my teaching partners I've had, um, we've gone through ups and some serious downs. I can refer to the year that I had to teach kindergarten online. My partner Cindy, that year, we there were a lot of tears that year, a lot of tears. But I've said this to numerous people. The only reason we got through it is because the two of us were who we were, and we leaned on each other, and we weren't afraid to be vulnerable with one another and say, teaching kindergarten online is brutal. It's not fun. And it was killing us because we knew what we could do in a classroom with these little peanuts. And we just tried so, so hard to make some of them their first year of school something to remember. And I've
Mhm.
been really, really lucky where some of those students I actually have at my current school. Um, and they'll come up to me. Do you remember when we made cookies on this day? I'm like, how do you remember that? I blocked COVID out. Like, so,
Yeah,
it's,
that year
huh?
didn't happen.
I can't, but that year truly would not have worked if it was not Cindy and I. We worked so well together. We just fed off of one another. We came up with incredible activities to do through a computer screen. And I look back and that was meant to happen, the two of us, because we cried together a
Yeah.
lot, a lot. But by like November, December, we had kind of found like our groove. So it wasn't too bad. But the first 2.5 months was rough. But
It's
again, you learn from those people.
mhm. And now you can laugh about it, right? Which is
We
crazy.
laugh, and every once in a while, we kind of look at each other. When I run into her, every once in a while, we kind of still have like a little tear that comes out because we're like, no.
But I think that's what like a good relationship is, right? It's not it's like a relationship with not only coworkers but like a partner or like a friend. It's like you'll go through ups and downs, but you figure it out, right? And there's gonna be obstacles and challenges, and you figure it out. You play towards your strengths and try to improve your weaknesses, and I think that's super important.
Absolutely. And I think like the greatest thing that with all of my partners that I've had throughout my teaching career is, people kind of say it's 50-50, but I don't look at it that way. Someone's going to come into the room maybe only willing to give 20%, but that's their 100% for the day. And then you kind of look at that person, you're like, okay, I got to give 80 then. So it's about understanding that, yeah, we all come into the room every once in a while with not maybe 100% to give, and so it's your job to sort of, okay, no problem, I've got it today, because there's going to be a day where you come in and maybe you can only give 20% as well, but then you're hoping your partner will give you that 80 that you need to make that 100 for the day, right?
And that's what makes the perfect pair. It's like that.
Yeah.
Just try it. try to do your best all the time, right? And if you can only give 20%, give that 20%. If you can give 80% or 40%, give that percentage, right? And just do
Yeah.
what you can. Not every day is going to be perfect. I'm sure there's some days you wake up that are like, oh, we got it. Like you're not feeling the best, or you're sick with all the germs in school, and you're not your full self, right? But you go and you try the best you can, and it's like me too. Like sometimes I don't feel well, or it's a long day, and but you try to show up and you try to do the best you can for the people that care about you and the people that you want to have a good impact for.
And I think, like, with my students, they're with me 6 hours a day, 6 to 7 hours a day. And that's a lot of time with me. And so if I'm miserable all day, and I mean, we all have those days, like, there's
Mhm.
no getting around it. Um, it sets them up. They can feel that. And so sometimes, you're coming in and it's like, okay, well, here we're gonna put on this show. But with my students, I'm very honest with them. Like if I tell them that I'm tired, guys, Miss Riley's a little tired today. They're very understanding. Like I know that they're only, some are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Um, but they're like, oh, I was tired too, and they'll tell you I was up early. Like they have some of the same problems that we do as adults, and we forget that. You know, Students have to wake up early to go to daycare, and so they're up at 5 a.m. And yeah, I'd be exhausted too. I'm
Yeah,
still sleeping at 5
we
a.m.
like even if they're little people, like little humans, they're still human beings. They still go through the same thing we all go through. We're just different ages, and but I think that's a cool perspective to have. Like it's all about communication, right? And
Yeah,
whether you're 3 or whether you're in your late 30s, like if we communicate good with people, and people will understand, right? And I think that's like there's always like give and take too, and which is pretty good. And I
yeah.
when you think, like a lot of people probably think like, oh they're only 3 or they're only 4, they don't understand, but they understand more than we think they do.
and and they do, like they pick up on your emotions. And um when they're that little, sometimes they don't understand the emotions that they're exhibiting. And so it's really important to, like you said, communicate with them. Sometimes they need you to label those feelings and those big emotions. And then once they understand what it feels like and what it is to know what that means, their day goes a lot easier. You'd be
Mhm.
amazed at how many kids come in and they're frustrated, but they don't know what the word frustrated means. And then when you explain it to them, they're like, oh, okay.
That must
Like
be
it,
a, go ahead.
no, 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 go, go, go.
I was gonna say that must be like a really like reassuring, really cool feeling. Like when they're going through something and you can help them through that problem, right? And explain to them. And I think it's school is more than just the books and numbers and reading, and it's about becoming a human being and becoming like knowing your feelings, how to communicate, how to be with one another, how to share, how to be kind, how to do all this, so many different things, and it's so special that you're able to kind of help them along that journey.
I think that's actually one of my favorite things about my job is helping them with those emotions and those big feelings. I always say, yes, we have to learn, our alphabet and reading and math and science and all of these things. But if I can teach kids the importance of understanding themselves and the importance of being kind, I've done my job. Kids learn at their own speed and they learn in their own way. And sometimes they're not going to get certain academic pieces with me. They might pick it up the next year, but um, understanding themselves and their mental health is truly really what I love to do. I love
Mhm.
talking about the brain and how it works and what it does for us and where those emotions come from. It's one of my favorite things to do in my classroom.
It's like that movie with all like the character, the feeling characters.
Oh,
Yeah.
Inside Out is the greatest movie ever made. I watch it every year with my students. It's the greatest movie
Oh,
ever made.
see, I didn't know what it was called, but like when you said that, it made me think of that. Like
Well, and
describing all the feelings.
movie's so great, but I think it's so important. Like students, it's important for them to understand that like they're allowed to be angry, they're allowed to be furious, but
Mhm.
it's how we react um, with those emotions that's really, really important. You know, we don't lash out. We can show our anger in different ways, and if we're angry, well, we can talk about it. If we're super sad, well, that's okay too. Let's talk about that. But even if you're super happy, let's dissect that too. What's making you happy today? Are you just in a good mood? Yeah, I have those days too.
And I find that's very very important because it's important to share that you're happy and not only when, because a lot of people say like, oh, like explain why you're frustrated, but people don't say like explain why you're happy, and I think it's important to celebrate that as well.
And it is probably one of the hardest things for people in general, but students to do is why are you happy? Well, I don't really know. You know, so lately I've been very lucky. I've been blessed with two wonderful, a niece and a nephew in the last year. And so I've shared that joy with my students. They get excited when I have new photos of baby Reed or now baby Adeline. Like they're super pumped about it. They want to see why I'm excited, and then they get to share, you know, reasons why they're excited. Well, I had a new baby cousin that was born. Another one was I have a new puppy. Like sometimes they don't always share with you. Sometimes they'll share way too much, but um, sometimes you know they need to know it's okay to share why they're excited or why they're happy.
I've been fortunate to meet Reed multiple times, and he is.
He's so stinking cute. I can't even stand it.
Yeah, he came by a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh, he's just adorable, and it's a
uh
perfect mixture of Joe and Gracie, and they're both two amazing human beings. So I was like, two amazing human beings making another amazing human being is awesome.
and he's just to watch him grow is just it's so fun to watch. To think about almost a year ago, he was just this tiny little meatloaf, and now he's, you know, in the basement banging on the little piano they have down there, thinking he is Beethoven. It's really quite funny.
Maybe he will one day.
You never know.
You
Hey,
know,
this could be a starting point. You don't know.
we had to take videos, and then like 15 years from now, we'll be like,
Yeah.
put them between like the both.
Yeah.
The only thing with like the toy instruments is that it might be a little annoying for Gracie and Joe, but that's okay.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
Yeah. And all you have to do is like when you can go visit, play with them, and then when you get annoyed of it, okay, I'm heading out.
Auntie Holly's gone.
Yeah,
Bye.
that's perfect. But and I think that's so cool that you share your personal life with the kids too, right? And then it's relatable to them as well. And like you said, oh, I have a new cousin or a new puppy, and like they can relate to you with those kind of stories too, which makes them feel like included, right?
Yeah, they feel like they're a part of something bigger than just the classroom. And I like that. It's not for everyone. I know that there's some that they don't want to share, you know, some educators they don't share about their lives, and that's fine too. I get great joy out of it. I think it's fun.
And I think that a big part of you is joy because every time people see you or hear about you or talk about you, like they always say the same thing: how positive you are, how bubbly you are, how you bring out the best in people. And well, I guess one of my questions is like, were you always like that? Like ever since you were younger?
Yeah, I was always pretty happy. Pretty happy, and the more kids that entered the house with my three brothers, it was just happiness overload. Um, I mean, there were times where, well, I mean, you know all three of my brothers, and so we didn't always get along. Uh, but yeah, like I basically am a very happy individual and pretty joyful, and I try to see um, the goodness in everyone. I try to see the positive in even the darkest days, and um, even with the negatives, you know, I kind of look at them and then okay, let's kind of move on. I try to stay as happy and positive as I possibly can.
Mhm.
Uh,
And I think that's a good trait to have as a teacher, right? Like when it, like maybe a student goes home and something's going on at home and they come and see you and your Miss Holly like all bubbly
Yeah.
and cheery and happy, and school is meant to be fun, and you create like a great learning experience, right? And I think that's what that like, and that brings out the best, and happiness and joy and everything like that. It's so contagious, and I'm sure like the kids feed off that. And I see it like firsthand when I saw you at the Wolves game a couple months back, and the school had the Wolves game, and all the kids would come see you. You're like, oh, like it was like a mob. You're like a celebrity, which is amazing, and
And
everyone
I
wanted
felt
to be around you, right? Which
it
is
was funny because at that game, I had missed a few students, I guess. And I felt terrible, like, Miss Riley, we were yelling your name. I'm like, guys, I'm really sorry. I tried to see everyone that I possibly could and get pictures of everyone. But it's a very big arena. There's a lot of people there.
it's like a musician or something, like the like a fan sees the musician at the concert, and
But
then
if I see them at like the grocery store, they're stunned because they're like, "Oh, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be getting groceries. You're not supposed to be here." Um, but I love like I had so much fun. You bring up the hockey, and it's so much fun going to that because you know the kids get so excited to see you at events like that. Um, like when I told them that I could, because we also had a game where they were had the opportunity to go to the basketball game. I had something going on, so I couldn't go. And all of my students that were going to the game, oh, you won't be there. Like, I'm sorry, guys. Miss Riley I'm not here that weekend. Like, I'm really sorry. So, it's nice that they get excited to see me because some days I'm like, oh, you've probably seen enough of me all week. Goodness me, but no, apparently not.
it's like they see you for 6 hours during the day, and then they see you at night, and they're even more excited.
Oh, it's so funny. Like, my classroom is right beside the daycare, and I have quite a few students that go to daycare in the afternoon. And if I'm getting work done or whatever in my classroom, then I go to leave, I'll hear down the hallway, Miss Riley. I'm like, are you guys not done with me? Like, are you not over my shenanigans? Apparently not.
I think that's like a good thing, right? It's like a good testament of you, like the positive impact that you have on the kids, right? And it's better than the opposite. It's better like they see you and turn the other way, and not want to talk to you.
True, true. It could always be worse.
Yeah, which is awesome, right? And I think like being in your position, I think that's the whole goal, is to be able to have a positive impact on the kids, right? And more than just school, and even like the example that you shared, and like during your COVID year when you made cookies, and the kid remembered that you made cookies, and it was all these years ago, which it must be like a cool feeling when that kind of happens, right?
It is because as an adult, you think, oh, it's just baking cookies. Like, I mean, I do that, whatever. But to a kid, it's the greatest thing in the world. And
Yeah.
I always think sometimes when you do things in a classroom, sometimes there's kids who've never done things like that. Like I carve a pumpkin every year at Halloween, and I always think, well, maybe there's a student in here that's never done this. And I know that seems to us silly and ridiculous, but there are students who've never carved a pumpkin to get ready for Halloween, or they've never, uh, you know, I always put a Christmas tree up in my classroom every year for Christmas. Uh, maybe they've never done that, and they celebrate Christmas, but they've never done that tradition, and that was a tradition that I always did when I was a kid. So it's important to me.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things like, my students this year, are you putting the Christmas tree up again? Yeah. Can we decorate ornaments again? Yeah. And it always looks like a small hurricane's gone through the Christmas tree because the ornaments never match and they're always different shapes and always at the bottom. But they get such joy out of it. And if they leave my classroom and that's the memory they have, then I'm happy. I'm happy with that. If that's something that they've brought out of it, great.
But you said it was like a mismatch or it doesn't match or whatever. But I think that's what makes it so perfect. It's like
Yeah,
they make it what it is,
it's
which is
there's
awesome.
perfection and imperfection.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a really good way of looking at it because sometimes people might see it and say like, "Oh, that doesn't look right," but like in other eyes, it looks perfect. And I think
Hmm.
it's all about your perspective and how you see it, right? And probably like it's weird to say, but some kids they might not have a Christmas tree, and then they do it with you, and then the next year they have a Christmas tree with their family because they did it with you, and you might have started a tradition with their family.
Yeah, I always I try to do fun things with them that is memorable, and maybe they have done those things before, but sometimes there are students that haven't had those opportunities to do those things. And so I just think that, these are the things that I did when I was little, or a teenager or whatever, and they brought me joy and happiness. And so why not do it with them? Like making Play-Doh that smells like cinnamon or what have you. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
sounds so silly, but at the same token, like to me, if they've never done it before, like that's fun.
yeah, for sure. And it gives you a different perspective because, yeah, you've done it, but it gives you a different perspective because you see it within their eyes. Like it's like
Hmm.
it's new, right? And I think that probably gives you a sense of joy too. See like their sparkle in their eye, how excited they are. Like, oh my god, I didn't know that this Play-Doh was gonna be this color or it's gonna smell like that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's exactly it. Like, um, I what did I bring in not too long ago? I brought in allspice to put into this was like probably closer to like October. I brought in allspice. And they're like, "What's allspice?" I said, "Well, it's just a mixture of like cinnamon and like a couple." Well, what's that? So it just opens up this whole conversation for um different avenues that we can research and like, well, what is an allspice and why did it come to be that way and can we make our own? Like it really and that's the joy of kindergarten is that you have that open-endedness to be able to sort of go in different directions with their interest in their education, which is one thing I absolutely love about it. Um, yeah, it makes it fun. Like I can remember uh, when I was teaching online, we did a whole 3 month inquiry on space. During that time, there was a mission, I believe, that had gone to. There was a robot that had landed on Mars, and so we followed this robot daily to see how far it had gone. And so it just kind of opened up like this whole just potpourri of exploration of stars and galaxies and what does that look like and this and the planets. And so um just little things really open up a lot of doors, which seems, it's all space, like that's it. But then we looked at like, well, what's in it, and we make our own, and
That's
all
but
from all space.
you're like a human chat GPT.
Yeah, I'm not quite as, very grammatically correct all the
Yeah.
time, quite like ChatGPT. I try, but even I can be flawed.
There's like and then they have one question and then you answer and then they have like, oh, what's that? And then it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going.
And you keep going. Like last was it last year? Last year, I had shown my students the weather radar. Actually, 2 years ago. That's all. Like 2 years ago, I had shown my students the weather radar, uh, and now, so these are students I had in JK. I now have them in grade one. So this is actually my third year with them. They still ask to look at the weather radar to see what the weather is going to be like in the afternoon and try to predict what the weather is going to be like just based upon what they see on the radar.
That's cool though.
It's so, you know what, they love it. It's so fun, and they know how to read like the different colors on the map, and it opens up a great inquiry on temperature, which also fits into like a lot of learning, and it's fun.
And then you can like mix match like and then it can be like a lesson of colors and mix matching the colors. It could be an art project. It can do anything.
Exactly. There's so many things that you can do with it. But I love kindergarten for that, where you have just sort of the freedom to kind of go so many different ways with their learning. And
Yeah.
it's all based upon their interests, which is incredible.
And I'm sure like every kid has so many different interests too, right? Do
Oh,
you find
and it's hard to keep up every once in a
Yeah,
while.
I was just about to ask, do you find it hard to like keep everyone's interests that big because everyone is so different, especially
It
at that?
is, especially like, if you have 30 plus students, 30 students, it's hard to kind of keep it so you're not doing 30 different things at once. And so there was one point we were doing um, an exploration on worms and then ants. So that was at least great. But then it was, okay, well, what about this bag? And what about this? And we're like, hey guys, we got to like hone in on just a couple here and then we can branch out. We got to just focus on a couple. I'm not that quick with the typing where we can like do our research, but like I brought in worms one day and we played with worms and uh, talked about how many pseudo hearts they had and how many how they eat, and I signed us up for a virtual field trip to a worm farm. There's the Agricultural Society of Ontario. They during COVID they put on these really great virtual field trips, and they've still been doing it, which is awesome. So you can sign up for things like that. That was an interesting one. I had no idea there were so many different types of earthworms.
I might have to sign up for that. That sounds kind of
Yeah,
cool.
honestly, like some of them are really, really great. Like there was one I did a dairy farm, and we walked around the dairy farm and learned, you know, these they're pasture fed dairy cows, but then when they're ready to be milked, they come over here and they learned a ton. It was
Yeah.
great.
And you probably learned a ton too.
I did. I mean, like I grew up around horses and livestock, but man, I really didn't know a lot about cows.
Do you still ride horses?
I haven't ridden in a number of years. The horses that we currently have on the property are all retired,
Oh,
and it's really hard to commit to the to consistency to make sure that the horse is getting the proper amount of attention in riding. So we just have really pretty lawn ornaments right now. Uh, and I go out as much as I can. I'm very lucky we're there on my grandparents and my aunt and uncles' property. So I get out there and we groom and we love them. I'd
I mean,
like to get back into it one day.
yeah.
One day.
Would you ever bring the class there to meet the horses?
I did do a virtual field trip to my farm when I
What?
was teaching online, actually.
How many horses you got?
So right now we have five. At one point, though, we had 18 on the property.
18. Holy moly.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's
It was
super.
fun. Still is fun.
Yeah, it's like a fun hobby, right? And then they all have their own character and personality, and
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
that's great. And it's kind of like teaching too. They're all different, right? And they all,
Different. And you have to approach them all differently.
mhm.
Some horses they love when you love them up, and some are like, oh, that's enough.
Yeah,
You're here to ride and groom, and that's it. We don't need to be friends. Okay, sounds good, no problem.
just give me an apple and a carrot. And,
Exactly.
yeah.
Or my horses, they loved Doritos. It was one of their favorite things.
What? How do you figure that out?
When I was growing up, the farm that I started riding at, they had a vending machine. And every time I had a lesson, which was once a week on Saturdays, usually I would get a bag of Doritos because they are still my favorite. And one day, my horse Missy, she grabbed one from my hand and then tried to eat the entire bag. And that was when I figured out she loved Doritos. She actually preferred to lick the cheese off and then spit the corn chip out, um, but she would eat them. They were
Huh,
her favorite.
that's so funny. It's too bad you can't find like the powder of it. Then you'd be laughing.
Right? Perfect. Just throw that over the oats. But it was the funniest thing because she would literally take the chip, like I don't know how she did it, but then she would spit out the pieces of the corn chip. She would lick the cheese off and then spit out the corn chip.
And
It was
it's
the
like,
funniest thing I've ever seen.
and then you can't eat it because it's kind of gross.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I can't eat this now. There's a lot of things I'm willing to do, but horse gob is not one of them.
Oh, is Missy still around?
No, Missy. I had to put Missy down at the ripe old age of 31. She had a very long, happy life,
Oh,
and I
no.
had to put her down in, oh gosh, when did I have to put her? 2016.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I had her from the time that I was 13, so I was very lucky. I had her for a very, very long time.
But 31, that's like,
That's
that's
old. That's
no
old.
time for a
That's
horse.
old.
Huh. Or do they have like dog years? Like you know how like it's like if you're
Uh,
old, you're
they
7?
they do. I can't remember what it is. I'll have to message you with that one because I can't remember what it is. But
So
she lived a very happy life, like very happy life. She was a very happy retiree towards the end of her life.
she had a lot of Doritos and the best owner.
A lot of Doritos, a lot of applesauce. She was happy.
That's so cool. It's cool that you're still doing it, and having like and that like that's probably one of your getaways, I would think, right?
It is. I had to so my I had two horses growing up. I was very, very lucky. And my last horse I had to put down actually a year ago, this past February. And he lived a good life too. He lived to be 30. Um, we like him old at our farm. We
Yeah,
like him old.
you got a good track record.
Yeah. And we just had a really good relationship, the two of us. He was my best friend. It sounds crazy, but he was.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. It's like, were you able to bring him at the wedding?
I
Like,
would have. I honestly, if I thought if I thought he could do it, I would have done it. But
yeah.
he doesn't like the color yellow. He didn't like the color yellow. It was not his favorite. He would run away from it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would have, but he's a bit of a spook. He doesn't like loud noises or so we had to keep him where he was.
That would have been funny though, because you sometimes you see at like weddings, like the bride and groom have like llamas or something, you know?
Yeah, oh yeah. And he like Volmer was his name, and he's a lot like our cats. Like he had no idea what personal space was. So if you were in his stall, he was like right here at your face. Um, he didn't care where you were. He was like right here
You
and
probably
chewing
thought
in your ear or like slobbering on you. He was in your space all the time.
you probably thought he was like a small lap dog or something.
I'm convinced that he was a Great Dane in another life, or he was just like a really large apartment dog and would just think that he was the size of a Chihuahua, even though he was not.
Oh, that's funny. But it's better to have that than not want nothing to do with you, which is good.
I was exactly. He loved me. I was his favorite.
Oh, I thought. See, I think there's a common trend of like your horses, your students, everyone around you just wants to be around you and gravitates towards you, and how much of a
Oh,
like of an influence you are. Not only the animals, the students, and the people in your life too. But I wanted to ask, like, who would be some of your influences, not like maybe professionally, but also in your day to day life that really helped you be the peppy, positive, amazing, kind person that you are.
you sent me this question earlier, and I really thought long and hard about it. And there's three people that come to my mind right away. And the two people, it sounds cliche, but my parents. Um, my mom and dad really instilled in me the importance of love, kindness, um, and how important that is uh, to put out there. They really instilled in me the importance of hard work,
Mm.
which I didn't always do. Um, I did drop out of university for a brief moment in time. We can get to that later, though, if you want. Uh, um, they really taught me the importance of hard work, um, and working for what you want and working for what you deserve. And the other person is actually my grandfather, Merv. Um, he is, and I don't know if you've met my grandfather, Merv. Have you ever met Merv?
I don't know. I haven't yet.
He he is one of those people um, who I want everyone to meet. He's just one of those people that you meet him and instantly he just exudes happiness and joy. Um, he really taught me the importance of being kind, and the importance of relationships with people.
Mhm.
He owned Canadian Tire for many, many years. Um, and one of the things that he always said was the importance of it was always really important to just build relationships with the people that you work with and that work for you or work beside you. Um, and it's always really stuck with me. And I was very fortunate that when I graduated from Teachers College, that I had the opportunity to work for my grandfather while he was nearing retirement. And even as an employee, yes, I was his granddaughter, but even as his employee, you shake his hand and you instantly just feel happiness. He's just that type of person. So those are the three people. I couldn't pick just one. It just wasn't going to happen. Like it wasn't going to happen. I look at the life that my parents have built and how hard they worked for it. Um, and the people that they are, they also have that understanding of the importance of, treating people with kindness and respect. Um, and when you do that, that's what comes back to you. I truly do believe that. Uh, you're not going to like everyone, and that's okay. But it's, even though they may not be your favorite person in the world, treating them with kindness is still super important because you really do not know what the other person is going through. And, all three of them have really taught me that.
And when you're describing all of them, and I know your parents, and I'm so lucky to be able to know them because you talking about them, you hit the nail on the head. They're the nicest, most hardworking people you'll probably meet. I don't know your grandfather, but I've heard a lot of good stories. And when Casey graduated, he started a hot dog stand, and he was selling hot dogs like right outside Canadian Tire. And
I still think the dog father needs to make a serious resurgence. I think they need to bust that out again.
I think so too. And then he like even all four of you guys, like your work ethic and like when all four of you are in the same room, you know it's the Rileys. You guys all talk the same, and you
Yeah,
guys
because we're
all,
all loud.
but you guys all have like this energy, right? This energy of positivity. And I've been lucky enough since I started the brand that Joe has been my accountant, and he still is, no matter how busy he is. He always gives me the time
Are
of
you
day.
sure? No, I'm just
And,
kidding.
and he like I can talk to him, and I feel like I can get out of my chair and run across the wall. Like he pumps me,
Yeah,
and he always uplifts you. And
yeah.
all you guys have that trait, which is really 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 special.
They Joe, it's funny because I had mentioned that I had dropped out of university. Uh, I went back. And uh, when I dropped out, I then went to Cambrian and got my early childhood education diploma. When I was toying with the idea of going back to school to finish my degree, because it was kind of weighing on me that I had some credits, not a lot, but some credits at LU. I can remember having this has always stuck out in my head. I remember having a conversation with Joe, who's my younger brother. I think we need to keep that in mind. He's 2.5 years younger. And he said to me, I said, I think I want to go back to school. Like, I think I want to get my degree. I don't really know what I want to do with it. I'm thinking teaching just because I had done early childhood education, and it was just like an easy segue. And his response was, for shit's sakes, Halls, of course you need to go back. You can do it. And it was funny because I'm the big sister, right? And so like I'm supposed to behave all this way, but I was the one who left school and didn't know what I wanted to do. Whereas Joe, he always knew that he was going to go into finance and become an accountant. Like he's always known that. And so that's something that I've always really revered about him, is that he's really worked hard for everything that he has as well. But he was also, when I went back to school, one of my biggest cheerleaders as well.
And I'm like going back to that story about you leaving university but going back. I remember your dad talking to me about it because when I first because I met um, how all I met all you guys really, but like you would be a little bit later. But Casey introduced me to your dad because I needed an accountant for when I started the business, and then that kind of. But then I didn't know you existed at
Yeah,
first,
there's a lot that didn't know I existed. There's a few.
and and Ed was telling me telling me about you and how proud he is that you went back and you finished what you started, and I think that I think that's very admirable because a lot of people in your situation maybe we always compare ourselves to others, right? And I think that's the worst thing you can ever do. But I think running your own race, and who cares how old you are, and if you have a dream and you really want to do something, you can achieve it no matter what the circumstances are, right? And no matter how much time is lost, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And you decided to go back and pursue and follow your dreams. And now look at you, which is amazing.
It wasn't an easy decision, but it was honestly, I say, um, dropping out of university, the first, like when I first did it, um, I I say it's a failure, but I actually secretly think it's my biggest success, um, because it was the leaving university made me realize that it wasn't for me at the time.
Hmm.
Um, and I think, you know, I come from a family where education is so um, it's so important. And it wasn't from anyone else's influence. It was my own influence where I felt like this is what I need to do. And it really was not an influence of it. It was something that I had pushed upon myself. And then when I finally got there, I was 2 years in. I'm like, I hate everything that I'm doing. I'm in classes that I love the material, but I don't know what I want to do with this. And I hate that I'm sitting here. I'm wasting my professor's time. I'm wasting my time. And then what ended up happening is I just stopped going. I didn't go to class. I handed in a paper here, handed in a paper there, got a 15% in one class because I aced the final exam. But
50 or 15?
that's a 1.5, Ryan. That's a 15. Yeah, it's okay. I wear it like a badge of honor.
There you go.
Uh, but at this, I look back at leaving. Um, I don't regret it at all because I look at the people that I've met. Like I left university, quite literally went on Cambrian College's website and I'm like, well, I got to do something. I can't just, and saw early childhood education. I'm like, well, I like kids. They're fun. Why not?
Yeah.
And the second I got into the classroom at Cambrian, I fell in love with the program. And I'm like, this is where I'm meant to be. This is where I'm meant to be. And then from there, it was just, I would work in the field and it was just sort of a natural progression. I was very lucky where I was able to work in the field of early childhood education while finishing my degree. I worked for a great organization where they gave me that flexibility and they cheered me on too to further my career.
Mhm.
And then, it wasn't easy going to teachers college at the age of 27, turning 28. And you're the oldest one. And 28 is not that old, but I
Yeah.
was the oldest one of the older ones in my section,
Yeah.
like, we were talking about like, there was a point in one of the classes when I went to North Bay for teachers college. Well, what's everyone's experience in education? And oh, I've worked at a day camp, I had a babysitting job on the side because they're young, they're like early 20s. And like I've worked as a registered early childhood educator since I was 22. I've potty trained quite a few students, taught them how to, write their name, like, so it was not easy going back, but um, leaving school was probably, I've said it was like a failure because I failed a few classes, let's be serious. Uh, it was my biggest success. I think leaving school was probably my biggest success.
And that's a great way to look at it. It's all about perspective, right? Sometimes you think something didn't work out and we're discouraged, but it might be just a redirection into something bigger and better, right? And maybe taking a little bit longer, you're more mature, right? Instead of being 19, 20, you're
Mhm.
27, right? You lived and you gain experience, and it becomes who you are. And I think
Yeah.
there's people that go through that too, and now you can relate to them. Like you can, like, if people are having a hard time in school, say like, I had a hard time in school, but I tried something different, and I came back. And everyone has their own journey, right? And there's always bumps and obstacles and challenges and detours, and but it's just a redirection into something bigger and better. We just don't know it at the time. Sometimes we think, oh, this sucks, and then it doesn't work out the way we want it to, but it gives us a different direction into something bigger and better than we can ever imagine.
And I look at the people that I've had the opportunity to work with, the friends that I've made along the way. Uh, I wouldn't don't know that I would necessarily have had the chance to work with them, or make friends with them, given the fact that if I didn't leave and didn't go to Cambrian to get my 2-year diploma, then to move on to go to Laurentian, I would never have met any of those people at Cambrian. I
Yeah,
never would have met any of the people that I met when I was 28. And then I still, like when I went to Teachers College with them, I still talk to them, and, we check in and see how everyone's doing, because we were from all over the place. Like I have, one friend, she's moved to the UK, she's married with children. I have another friend, they're in Australia, married with children. And even though we're different parts of the earth, we still try to keep tabs on each other. But I wouldn't have those friends if I didn't leave, if I didn't get 15 in a classical studies class that I should have probably gotten an 85 in, but we don't need to go there.
that's okay. See, like it's all a blessing in disguise, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like a kind of a funny story.
Oh, I always say, I said, well, I was a university school dropout, but I went back because I honestly, like, the little amount of work that I did my second year, the first second year that I had was like atrocious. First year I tried really hard. Second year was really difficult. And then I did enter the third year. And I had a lot of people, they're like, what do you mean you're leaving? Like your third year, apply for a third year, 3-year degree. I'm like, ooh, that would mean that you would have to have enough credits to account for 3 years. I didn't have that. And I don't actually know that I've ever told my parents that, but it's true.
The
I
cat's
can
already.
remember, oh yeah, I can remember yeah, you can laugh. It's funny. I think it's hilarious. Like, it's hilarious.
The situation is not funny. The thing that you said, like, I don't know if my parents are gonna know that, but if they
I
listen to
don't
this,
know.
they will find
I,
out.
I I don't know that they actually know the severity of how badly I failed that second year. Well, we'll say the latter half of the second year. For sure, the third year though. Oh, terrible.
But when you think about it, like,
Um,
if you fail with a 15 or you fail with like a 49, it's still fail, so it
Still
doesn't
fail.
matter.
Yeah, I was like, I still didn't do anything. I was still lazy, But like, I can remember that when I was applying to graduate, when I went back the second time, I actually had to like beg the registrar. I'm like, can you please take this off of my, because it stays there, right? And even though it doesn't count, like they're not the credits that are counting towards your degree, like it still stays there, which can actually bring your average down. I'm like, I will do anything to take this off my record. And they're like, okay, it's going to cost you. I'm like, I don't care. Like I've got a copy of the really horrible transcript for my memories. Fine. I want the good one where like I worked my butt off and I worked really hard for what I had. And,
Yeah,
um, and it was, I was like, okay, we'll take it off. I'm like, thank you.
perfect. See, the first time it wasn't the best, but and then you claim you're a university dropout, but now you're A plus teacher, so it
I
all
like
works
to
out.
think every once in a while. I like to think I am.
But going back to Joe and hearing your story of like how he was your biggest cheerleader, I wanted to mention this before I forgot. But like when I first started with him, I went to Laurentian, I graduated, I went to Cambrian, and then I did a post diploma program. I didn't know what to do, and I was in his office. I was like, "Do you have any clients or like any like leads for like a government job or something? I don't know what I want to do. Like, I don't know if I can do this full time with the business." And like, he pretty much laughed at my he pretty much laughed in my face and said like, Ryan, he's like, I believe that you can be the next Nike. Like, I believe in you. I believe you can do this. And he kind of pushed me into the direction. And then now, like 10 years later, it's definitely different. But he always reminds me. He's like, remember you were in my office and you were thinking of doing a desk job or something like that. Like, do you ever see yourself doing it now? Like, definitely not.
I couldn't see you doing that, Ryan. Absolutely not. You are right where you need to be. The world needs you.
Oh, thank you, and likewise. And I think like hearing the story about Joe and like he does that to everyone, right? And even like the people that work for him or work with him, and they always say the same thing. He's the hardest working person in the room, and even like I talk to Gracie sometimes, and like, oh, it's 8 o'clock and Joe's still at work, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I was really lucky where not only was it Joe, I had the other two cheering me on too. My baby brother, my middle brother, like Brady and Casey, they were both cheering. They were all three of them were cheering me on
Yeah.
because I had found something that I truly enjoyed and I had direction that I was happy with. But when I graduated from Laurentian with my degree, the three people that were sitting watching me graduate were my parents and Joe, because that was who I wanted my third ticket to go to, because he was the one who literally looked at me, for shit's sakes, Hall, you got to do it. Like, and I'll never forget that. Like that line, I'll never forget. I will never forget.
That's super cool. And like seeing you like walking like to the like walking on stage getting your diploma, your degree, sorry, and then like seeing them three sitting there must have been like the best feeling in the world.
It was because it like I said, it wasn't easy going back. It was really hard. And on top of that, I was working part-time at a daycare. So I was up opening a daycare every morning at 6:30. I'd leave at 9, go to school all day, and then if they needed me, I'd come back and help close the daycare. Um, I was very, very lucky where I worked for, and then I was also working at the barn on the weekends too, and the Leprechaun, um, selling things. So I was very lucky where I had a support system that they were more than happy to help me with my dream of finishing my degree,
Yeah.
and going to teachers college. Shout out to Discovery Early Learning and Care, because the team there, they really, um, they made it work for me, and I'll be forever grateful to that team over there.
And it takes a village, right, to do something special. Yeah, it's your life, but you need it like a great supporting cast around you, right? Like your family, your coworkers, everyone, and then like it's cool. Like everyone believed in you because you believed in yourself, and you achieved something truly, truly special. And I think that's so cool. But I'm getting emotional. So
Don't you get emotional, because if you get emotional, I will too.
um,
Can't do it.
but like when you talked about like Joe and your parents, like, oh no, I
Yeah,
feel it
no.
coming up.
It's worse when you know them. That's the problem.
I know that's why it's so because I know how special they are, and the apple doesn't far from the tree because that's how you are too, all you guys, which is pretty awesome. But going like your grandfather, I think the one I met, I think it's your dad's dad from Hamilton, right?
Yeah, Grandpa
Yeah,
Russ.
he came to the store before. I met him.
He was a hard-working man, that guy too.
All you
Uh,
guys had
you
the
can tell, like, I look at both my parents and I can just, you can see where the work ethic comes from, because it literally just, it came up here and it just trickled down.
Mhm.
And I'm just grateful that it is something that I think that I have taken on as well.
Well, you don't think you live it every day, which
I
is pretty.
try, I try. Although the state of my desk that I left my classroom in today would suggest otherwise, but it's organized chaos. I know where everything
You should see my back room and my desk.
is.
Papers everywhere. It's like it's almost embarrassing as hell, boy.
But do you know where everything is, Ryan?
Oh yeah,
And that's all that matters.
yeah.
Listen, we're type B. We don't need to be type A. We can be type B. It's fine.
I'm probably type F.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Oh my gosh.
I wanted to ask you, like, I don't know if this is true, but did you go to Australia to teach?
No, so my now husband actually, uh, he was teaching out there. So when we first started seeing one another, he was teaching out there. And
Okay.
as he was nearing the end of his contract, I booked a flight and went out for 2 weeks and we traveled around. And here we are 10.5 years later.
So how did you guys meet if he was teaching there?
He actually, so his, we met at a wedding. His cousin married my cousin, which sounds absolutely terrible, but we are not related. So please don't put that out in the world because we are not. But yeah, we actually stood in a wedding together. That's how we met.
No, you were both in the wedding party?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's so cool. And
yeah.
Zach's a teacher too, right?
He's a teacher as well. Yeah, he teaches high school.
I got to meet his parents last year at a hockey tournament.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, it's so funny. I totally forgot about
hockey.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
At
they're
the
awesome.
weekend hockey in Notta, was it Nottawasaga? Or was it
Not
Ottawa?
even was.
Where was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can remember my mother-in-law Maureen. She had like messaged me. She's like, "I think your friend Ryan is here." I'm like, okay, well, I know, I think two Ryans. And I said, I'm pretty sure I know what Ryan you're talking about. I'm like Ryan from Positive, and she just fit like she right away. She's like Positive Intentional. I'm like, yep, he's there for sure.
Yeah, usually we go like every year. We're not doing it this year, but we do a hockey tournament with my buddies, and yeah, it was
Fun
so like
though.
it was funny because and they were mentioning like Zach and Holly, and it took me a second to register. Like, oh my god, that's so cool!
That's so
It's
funny. Oh
small
yeah,
world,
and
right?
they the world is small, and like they they've heard me talk about you before, and I've worn like the your gear before, and so for sure they would have like held on to that image in their brain, and they're like, wait a minute, we've seen this before, we know who you are.
Yeah. It's super cool. Like you never know who you're gonna meet, and
Ever.
and they're such great people, and like having them as like extended family, it's super special to have in-laws like that.
I'm very lucky.
Mm. And that's like going back to um like with like your support system and your family, and I think that's the most special thing because they allowed you to kind of be who you are, right? And when talking about your family, like I see like little pieces of them within you and vice versa. Maybe more pieces of you in them because you're older, right?
Yeah.
I we'll go with that.
Yeah,
Um,
let's go with that.
I think with that too is like being like having Joel there for your graduation and those special moments and having that being able to see like where your progression to the you started you had a hard time and then you went back and the positive impact that you're able to have because of the impact that they had on you and you're able to spread that with the kids that you teach every single day is I think that's the most special gift that you can give, right? And I think the best gift you can give someone is your time and being able to have that impact on those kids and I think for like when you think about it they probably teach you just as much as what you teach them too, right? I think that's what like the teacher relationship. I think that's what it's all about. And the more that you teach them, the more that they teach you. And I think that's so important in life itself, right? There's everyone can teach, everyone can you can learn something from everyone, no matter how old they are. And I think when you think about that, I think like your job, you're always going to be a student in some way because you're able to like the kids are the teachers too, which like the roles can be reversed.
Yeah, I and it's funny because it's not always a lesson that um jumps out at you, or oh yeah, I learned this, but you really think back about certain students or certain groups of students. You're like, man, they really taught me patience that year, or man, they really taught me the importance of finding the joys in the little things, like an
Yeah.
ant on a rock. Like, I had a little guy last year who he was obsessed with ants, and when he would find one, he'd be so excited, and he'd ask questions like, I wonder where its family is, or I wonder this. And when I'm like, it's an ant. But at the same token, they found such joy in just this tiny little thing. And it makes you really reflect about, well, what are the little things that I find happiness and joy in? Um, and can I hold on to that on those days where maybe you're having a bit of a rougher day,
Mm.
to find that little piece of joy?
And that's so special because like there's always a learning opportunity in everything, right? Like seeing an ant on a rock brings so much joy, and then that makes you realize like there's joy in all the little things, and I think that's like so heartwarming, and it's a really cool perspective to have. And not every day as a teacher is perfect, and there's going to be organized chaos, and it's going to be like, oh my, overwhelming and mentally draining. But those are like the small wins too. Like always count the small wins, right? And like you mentioned, and I think that's like that's probably what makes you keep going, right? And those little things of those little moments, it kind of makes it all worth it.
It does, and it as an adult, it makes you stop and really reflect about, how you go about your day.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like who knew there could be such joy in just an ant crawling on your hand? I mean, I don't find joy in that, but you know, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's something throughout my day that I do or that I've enjoyed that I can just, it's like, oh, that little thing that brings me happiness. That
Yeah.
brings me happiness. It's the ant on a stone, on a stone analogy.
Yeah. And the thing too is like when something brings someone else joy, it might not bring you joy, but it brings you joy because like you can see how much joy it brings to someone else, right? And it kind of
Yeah.
goes hand in hand.
No, exactly, exactly.
But like finding the joy in the little things, like that's like a good mantra, I guess. But like, do you have any quotes or anything that you kind of try to live by, or saying, or like a motto kind of thing?
Ah, I don't know that it's like a motto that, like, you say mantra that I say every day, but I always, if people err on the side of caution, I err on the side of kindness. I think that
Uh-huh.
um just ex- just being kind to anyone and everyone is just so important. Um I've said this before, I always say this. I said, you may not like everyone. That's the reality, is like you may not get along with certain people, but kindness is just one of those things that's going to bridge that.
Hmm.
Um, do you know what I mean? Like, I just think that not everyone is going to like the way that I approach life or the way that I do things, or not everyone's going to like my personality. I'm loud. I've got a big personality. That's not for everyone, and that's okay. But kind to one another, I just think is just something that we should all live by, um, because it's just so easy to do. It doesn't have to be that, like, you're buying people things, you're doing all these things, but it's just like a hello is just as kind. Do you know what I mean? Like, just that simple moment of kindness throughout a day can literally change someone else's day. And if I can do that, then I'm happy to do it.
And and I think like kindness always wins, right? No matter
Yeah.
what. Like I recently started doing this. This might sound silly, but like if I like go to the post office, or like I'm going somewhere, and I like I usually like I usually always say, but I'm now making a conscious effort to see like people's reaction. So every time I go to the post office, I got to go through the mall, and people are always walking. I always say like good morning, and then I like some like it's a 50-50 thing. Is like people don't say anything, or people say good morning and they smile, and I was like, that's
Yeah.
and then it's like I've always said like good morning or whatever, but I never like realized what the reaction would be. So now I'm making more of a conscious effort to see like it doesn't take very much to say good morning or hello. You don't know what people are going through. Like give a simple smile to someone. It might make someone's day, and it's like a good feeling. And it's funny to see like it's right now it's probably like a 50-50. Some people just like walk by, some people like smile and say good morning. It's very, very, it's cool.
One of my favorite things to do is when I'm driving or if I'm in a car, I smile at the person next to me. And it can either be like they smile back or they look at you like they are so uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what
They're like,
really.
I don't know what to do. So you either get like a really friendly, like, an acknowledgement, like, hey, hi, but it's just a smile. Or you get like the look of like, mm,
Yeah,
I'm gonna fiddle with my dial on my dash so I don't have to make eye contact, and that's
yeah,
fine. But even if that person's gonna leave that day, and be like, man, there was some crazy person smiling at everyone in that car. Well, at least I gave you a story to talk about.
yeah. It's funny to think about that. Like, like you said, someone, like they fiddle with something to not make like, don't look at me, you know.
Yeah, don't no no don't no eye contact, no eye contact.
It is kind of funny, but I think like the small gestures, like they pile up into something big eventually, right? And I think if we get out of our own head and we do that simple way for a card to a stranger, or a simple hello or a simple smile, like we might not think anything of it, but it might make that person's day. Like you said, it might give someone a conversation to talk about it, or they might like it so much that they'll start doing it. It's like a movement.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, people who do like a one act of kindness, whether they, are in the drive-through, they get the person's coffee behind them, whatever. I just think this is the same, it's the same sort of thing. I'm just acknowledging your existence in a positive light and a positive way. Um, I'm also the person who's going to talk to a random stranger at the grocery store. That's just who I am.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you've got mango. Oh, they're good right now, aren't they? And I know it seems so random, but you know what? Maybe that small bit of like chit chat or small talk pulls someone out of somewhere dark or pulls someone out of their own head to think of just talking with a stranger
Yeah.
in a positive way. Then like I think it's important. I do.
Hmm. For sure, it gets people out of like, like you never know what impact or positive, what impact you can have in a positive way to people, right?
Yeah.
And
And
I think,
again, maybe they're going home to their partner, whatever. Man, there was some crazy blonde lady talking to me about mangoes. Man, she was nuts. But again, funny story.
but but the thing is like you say crazy lady, but I think they like a different scenario, or the scenario that actually happens is they go back home to their partner. They say, I met the most amazing blonde lady today. She talked to me about mangoes.
Oh, Ryan.
It really uplifted me. Like I was thinking about something and stressed out about work, and she took 5 seconds out of her day to help, and it really made a difference. And that's probably how the conversation happened.
And I just think like that, like you said, the connection and communication is just so important. Human connection is really important. And
Mm,
that's what I try to do, on a daily basis when I teach, is like have that connection with my students. Doesn't always work in my favor, but I try. I try.
and being able to have that connection with even especially when they're so young, and it's a good skill to have as you grow up. We need human interaction. We need to communicate with people, and nowadays with technology, everyone wants to be on their phone or tablet or computer or whatever have you, like you said, getting out of your own head and like expressing your feelings and how you and interact with peers and interacting with like kids interacting with kids. And I think that is super important, and especially having someone like you having leading the way in a positive way. I think it's super super important, and I think that's like part of who you are, like being able to shape the young mind and shape kids to be who they are as like adults, and I think looking back, like you still got a ways to go for your career, but
Yeah.
a lot of your students will probably remember you. I remember when I was a kid, I remember like teachers that really had a great impact on me, and you're probably going to be one of those teachers for multiple kids. The kids that during COVID when baked cookies, like we mentioned, he'll probably remember that forever. You know,
I hope so. I
which is
hope so.
but like maybe that's but I think like it's for when you think about teaching and when you think about when I think about you, it's like it's not about who you are, it's about how you make people feel, right? And your parents of your students, I think they're so lucky to have someone like you that they drop off their kids for 6 hours a day and they're in good hands, and
They
uh,
trust me. I'm
yeah,
very grateful that they trust me with their most important thing in their life.
yeah, which
It's
is a really cool feeling.
it's I can't imagine doing it, and I'm very grateful that I've had families where they trust in my professional judgment. They trust that I'm doing the best that I can for their children, and that you know we're learning and growing together. And yeah,
And I like that what you just said, like you're learning and growing. Like you as a teacher, people might think like, what do you mean? But you're always constantly learning, and you're always trying to growing and becoming a better teacher, a better version of yourself on a day-to-day basis.
and teaching is one of those things where curriculum often stays the same for a few years until they change it again, but um, the class that you teach is always different, and so certain tricks don't always work with the group that you have, and you have to think quick on your feet. And okay, well, this form of classroom management worked with one group, it's not going to work with this one, so let's reevaluate and come up with a new plan to make sure that everyone's happy and safe. And so you're constantly trying to grow as a group.
And like even though they're growing individually, they're growing as a group, as one.
Exactly, yeah.
And you're the captain riding the ship along with.
I always tell them, who's the big cheese? And they always say, me. And then we laugh and they say, you're the big stinky cheese. I said, yeah, well, you're the little stinky cheeses. So it's kind of an ongoing joke we have in the class.
The big cheese.
I'm the big cheese.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's pretty. Like you should get like the cheese head for
I
the
know, I know. Should really become a Packers fan real quick.
yeah. Or like 1 year. Like I know it's probably too late now, but for Halloween it should be like a yeah. You should have a cheese, and then all the other kids should have like little
They could just
cheeses.
go as little cheeses. I could 100% do that.
Yeah,
I would be down for that. Big cheese, big stinky cheese, little teeny tiny stinky cheeses.
and you can just put them on like cardboard. You can do
Yeah.
like a big cutout of like a
Like a
piece of
little sandwich board, like a
yeah,
little like
yeah.
sandwich board. Yeah,
And then they can have like little cheeses sticking on their T-shirt or something.
I could do it. I have a Cricut. I'm sure I could whip something up, no problem.
Is it like an ongoing joke every year or like this year?
No, it's been the last 4 years actually. Who's the big cheese? Yeah, yeah.
Like, how many years does the school go up to?
Grade six.
So in another 2 years, all the kids are gonna be in, and like the year that they're graduating, like everyone in the school have a piece of cheese, and you're gonna
Everyone's
be the
gonna be
cheese.
everyone I've ever had. They're gonna have there's just little cheeses everywhere.
That'd be awesome. That'll be the new mascot.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
The cheeses. See that's how much of an it like jokingly, but like that's something they're gonna remember. That's like an impact of like one of many things, right? Which is pretty cool. But when like this is I always kind of ask this question, but like when you look back on your career right now and where you're gonna go and how it's all going to be unfolded. Like, what are you most proud of right now, and what do you want it to be like after it's all said and done? I know you still got a long time to go, but what do you hope that you're not in the, I didn't mean it like the mean
No,
of
no, 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 no. Um, how do I want to put this? Like, I feel like the one thing that I'm hoping I can instill with my students specifically is that they have the power, that when they leave me, they have the optimism and the tenacity and the confidence to try to attain their goals. I know that it's only kindergarten, but we always talk in the class about like, there's a lot that we don't know yet. Uh, especially like my kid, this group, they love learning literacy. So like they love our literacy block and learning, new phonics rules. I've never had a group like this where they ask a million questions about, well, why is this word spelt this way? And, but this letter combination is this. And so we explore that. Um, but they work really, really hard. And so I'm hoping that each group that I have, I've instilled in them that you may not be able to do it yet, but if you work hard for it, and you're confident that you can do it, and you have, the gusto to go after it, you can achieve anything. Uh,
Mhm.
and but I hope that I've also instilled that, those things come with hard work. It's not just going to be given to you. You have to work hard for it. And my group I have right now, they work so hard, and I'm always so proud of them every single day. I've had great groups every year. That's not to downplay the groups that I've had in prior years. Um, just the way that we're teaching certain things this year, it's changed, and I just see such a difference in their want to learn to like read and want to learn things in math, and it's incredible to watch. So I'm hoping that it's that they know that they can accomplish anything if they work hard for it.
And that's amazing. And I think being like so young, kindergarten, like you're giving them the proper foundation to be successful. And like it starts in kindergarten, and like it's one of the first years, right? And then they can utilize that as a stepping stone. And like when they're going to be in first grade, like they're going to be able to read and know all the differences between different words and why they sound the way. And they'll be more advanced than they're supposed to be, right? And I think that's a testament to you and your team, but it's also like it's a feel good moment as well.
It's we did an activity today, and I had a little SK. They came up to me, and they were looking to spell the word trees, and I just kind of sat back. I said, okay, let's sound it out. And they're like, er. So they wrote the letters down that they heard, TR, and then I said, okay, now listen, it's E, that long E sound. And the way that our program works is we learn certain vowel combinations, whatever, in certain lessons. I said, think about the ones that we've learned. Do you know what I mean? Like we've learned these ones. I know you know other ones, but we haven't, like, just because we've talked about them, but we haven't had a specific lesson on it. And they go, I said, yep, there you go. But now listen, what happens at the end? And they say, well, it's a Z sound. I said, yeah, trees. But what do we know about if that long E, if our voice is turned on, we say that because our vocal cords are turned on. It's not a Z, it's an S. And I'm like, yeah. So it's just, and they were so proud of themselves that they worked it out. And all I did was just sort of think really hard about what it sounds like and what your voice sounds like. And they did it on their own, and they had just such a sense of mastery. And I love watching that. I think that's my favorite part about teaching is that, like, to learn how to spell the word trees to us, because it was so long ago that we learned how to spell the word trees, but to them it was like I've had this eureka moment. It was like they climbed Mount Everest, but they did it, and they did it on their own with just the slightest, like, well, really think about it. And they're feeling their voice, they're feeling their throat, they're thinking about the rules that we've learned, and they were so proud of themselves. I
and
love watching that.
and you get to do that every day, which is special, right? And
It
every kid gets these eureka moments, and like yeah, the kid did it by himself. Maybe you pushed him, but you pushed him in a positive direction, and like you didn't give it to him, he worked for, or they worked for, and like the sense of accomplishment that they have within themselves, and then it brings you so much joy, and then it just it's like magic. It
Yeah,
really is like seeing things through a kid's eyes, how excited they are for. It's like it's such a cool thing to experience, and seeing kids like learn something and light up and being proud of themselves, and I'm sure for you like being part of that, it's like the best thing in the world.
I love it. You know, kindergarten is one of those, it's the 2 years where they learn the most. A lot of them learn how to zip up their zipper for the first time. A lot of them are just learning how to like open containers in their lunch bag. And I know that sounds silly, but when they get to be part of that zipper club because they know now how to zip up their zipper on their winter coat, and we have a big celebration because it's not easy, and they have this look of like, oh, I did it. Huge for them. It seems so ridiculous to us as adults because like, yeah, you zipped up your zipper, like big deal. But to them, it's they've literally ran a marathon and they've completed it. And I love watching that. I love watching. It is probably one of my favorite things about my job is to watch those little moments that to them are massive.
Yeah, and it's all about perspective, right? And I think like if we were able to see the world like through the eyes of kids, I think it would be that much more special. And like I said, it's like it's pure magic, and I think like hearing you talk about it, it makes me so happy. You know, I don't even know these kids, but like by you sharing this, I think it gives the perspective of like, you know what, sometimes things are hard, but if we keep at it, because it's not the first time they tried to zip up their zipper, they probably tried it like maybe like 100 times, for example, and then they finally got it. It's just an example of keep going, keep trying, and keep doing it, and eventually you'll get it right. And if you don't succeed at first, if it doesn't work out the way you want it to, if the zipper goes half like if you do one zipper and you didn't get it in the proper key, that's okay. Just and then the next day you'll try. Eventually you'll get it, and it's like that with everything. It's sometimes you get knocked down, but you just gotta get back up and try. See, like even with you in your teaching career, like it didn't start off the way you wanted to, but you never quit and you kept going and you kept persevering, and now look at you. Now you have your dream job that you're able to inspire kids and adults around you every single day.
And I always, the one thing I always tell my students, because, a few of them, they come to me saying, like, uh, practice makes perfect. But I'm always like, no, I said, you'll never be perfect. It's not like, perfection is not attainable. I always tell them, practice makes progress. And the more we progress, the better we become, the better we get. Because I mean, no one is perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes what we call like a poor choice. You'll never be perfect. We might like to think we're perfect, but it's just not an attainable goal. And I try to really tell them, like, no, practice makes progress. It makes progress. And the more you progress, the better you become.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a perfect way to end this. It's the perfect mantra and the perfect way to live our lives, to always progress and always try to do our best and always practice kindness, and kindness always wins. And I think if more people were like you, Holly, the world would be truly, truly a better place. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time and have it. I know it was out of your comfort zone, but you
I
rocked it.
was so out of my comfort zone, but I'm so glad I did it. I'm
No,
so
good.
grateful you asked me because honestly, I was like, what the heck does he think? Like, what does he want me to talk about? I'm not that interesting. And when I had mentioned it to a few colleagues, they're like, oh my gosh, are you going to do it? Of course you have to do it. I'm like, well, I'm going to do it. I said, but like, I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. Like, Bree over at Stitch and Stone, she was like, are you so excited? I'm like, I'm excited, but I'm really nervous. I'm not going to lie.
You did amazing, and just
Well,
by
thank
being you,
you.
just by being you, I
Oh,
knew it
thanks, Rye.
It's gonna be awesome. So I really appreciate it, Hall.
No,
And,
thank you. That was so much fun.
oh, good, perfect.